we want to discuss National Data Privacy Day. None other than our friend Neil Giacobbe is going to talk to us about digital.
Loch Ness Monster. Never seen her. Work silos? They're everywhere. When you use Asana, teams can coordinate work in one place. Visit asana.com to try for free.
Neil has joined us previously, I would say maybe 2 months ago, in regards to the great things that his company, AT&T, was doing with the Department of Education. But without further ado, Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you very much, Ted. And hi, Dr. Michelle.
Welcome back, Neil.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
All right. So there's a specific program, Neil, and I want to start off again and say thank you for coming on. I know it was a short heads up, but you're definitely a friend to the room. But I think with everyone, we could use, I really would like for you to tell us about the Digital U program. And I guess we can also go into some data privacy tips that can help some of our listeners out.
Right. Well, yesterday was Data Privacy Day here across the nation. And in honor of that, we've got a few things to share with your listeners. Just how to keep things safe and really how to stay in control. You know, our social media profiles, all of that is our advertisement to the world. It's who we are. I think for some folks, maybe on Facebook, and maybe your boss follows you, or maybe your mom or a close relative. And all of those platforms, and even ones that are private, like your email, are still really a voice to the world. So we just got to keep all of that under control and do that through security and safety, keeping our data secure. And for most of us, that means a password. I know on some smartphones, like the ones that I use, I can unlock it with a thumbprint. But really, for all the different platforms, a password is the way to get in. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can keep that safe and yet use our social media freely and confidently, knowing that at no time something is posted against our will or an email sent by us to someone else without us knowing. And so that really comes down to controlling the settings on your device. And so if you're on a laptop, a desktop, or your smartphone, all of them have privacy settings in the settings of your phone. And they're used to just keep your password set. You can set how long it takes for your screen to lock, for your computer to lock. It should never be left open indefinitely, because that way, if you misplace it, anybody can get in and do whatever they want to your social media. Post something to Instagram without you knowing about it. And worse, maybe you can steal some of your personal information that you have stored on your phone or computer. So really the key to that is a password that's unique and strong. And it's something that you change all the time. Now, you don't want to write it down on a sticky on your computer desk, because that basically gives everyone, it's like hanging a key to your door outside and locking it. Okay. So the key is to come up with a password that you can remember, but would be hard for someone to figure out, and you can make it a little random. It could be a word or a phrase that you remember. I was reminded of a meme I saw, I think on Twitter, of the Taco Cat. Did you see Taco Cat? I don't know if you, Dr. Michelle, you saw it.
I've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Well, it's a cute cat dressed in, I think, like a crocheted taco costume. And that's a good word. It's a word that you can remember, but it's kind of random too. And so to make your password really tight and secure, maybe make one of the letters in Taco Cat a capital letter, and maybe add a number that you remember, not like your birth year, because that's something that folks can easily find out on the internet by searching your name and really digging a little bit. Pretty easy to figure that out about someone. And then maybe something else that's memorable, like a pound sign or an exclamation point or something. And that combination of characters is actually kind of difficult to figure out. To sit at a keyboard, it's almost impossible. You need to see it written down, or you need to have access to it somewhere. So that's one thing that's really important to do. And of course, never share your password with anybody. You know, you mentioned before, Ted, that cyberbullying campaign that AT&T ran in the fall for teenagers to create films and polling. Really amazing program. And that one story that was told in a documentary created by a team was of a young woman whose boyfriend had posted pictures of her on her own Instagram without her knowledge.
I remember.
After they broke up. And it was a really startling story, and it completely disrupted her life. She survived it. She lived it out. But it was trusting someone. You know, she was in love maybe, and felt that she could trust her passwords, possession, and then things went bad, and then things went really bad. Used social media against her will, and so no matter the circumstances, there's no reason to change. Never share your password with anyone, and then of course just change it. Change it every 6 months. If you ever think that someone saw it, or you left maybe a computer unlocked and someone was, you know, around an open office space and might have seen something, just change it. Find, I don't know, burrito dog. I don't know if that but whatever it is, just take control of your passwords and mix it up a little bit. You know, in my personal life, I have a different one for different types of accounts. My banking, my emails, my social media, they're all different passwords. And it's sure, most of them are remembered by my browser. I think a lot of folks do that. You use a certain browser and it will remember your passwords for you. That's fine, as long as your computer's locked. Right? If you leave your computer unlocked and your browser remembers all the passwords, again, that's like we can see outside the door and lock the door. You shouldn't do that. And it's okay for your browser to remember your passwords just as long as you're vigilant about changing your passwords every 2-3 months, maybe 4 or 6 months, depending on how many devices you're logged into at any one time. You know, I have a computer at work, I've got one at home, I've got my mobile device. So that's 3 different places where I'm logged in at one time. When I change the passwords, sure, it's annoying. Everything, I have to relog into everything all over again, but the hassle of resetting passwords is a lot less than having a fight for stolen identity, or accounts opened in your name, having credit problems because somebody got access to your personal information, was able to open up accounts in your name. That's a huge hassle, and you know, for anybody who's experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Try to repair the damage from unauthorized access to your personal material. So either way, it comes down to your password. And then just the other basic tip, just don't click a link if you ever receive one in an email that looks a little weird, someone you haven't heard from in a while. It asks you for your personal information. Here, take a survey. And oh, by the way, can you give us your birth date? Can you give us your address? Can you give us your gender, et cetera, et cetera? You could be authorizing some activity without knowing it. But that's really the basic tip. That's like the first line of defense. And just think about in the back of your head, when was the last time you changed your password? I don't know, Ted, have you changed yours recently, or Dr. Michelle?
I do mine all of the time, quite frequently, and especially since the office has the electronic health records since 2008. We initially, when we first started, you know, everyone was used to using a computer, so they're thinking that, oh, when they finish seeing a patient, they don't have to necessarily lock the computer. Well, fortunately, those people are no longer in the office with us, but that was a major issue. And when one time one of the assistants walked into the room and somebody was sitting at the computer going on the internet. So needless to say, we had talked about safety and changing your passwords, making sure you lock the computer every time you walk out. But now it's not an issue because everyone knows what can happen if you don't do what you're supposed to be doing. And like I said, that was back in 2008 when we first started with electronic records. So
right, and a particular responsibility for medical professionals.
Yes.
Neil, Rich, and I are in IT, so we're forced to change our passwords
on a very regular basis
because we have to.
But Neil, so what's your opinion, or if you have an opinion on some of like the password management utilities? The first one that comes off the top of my head is like LastPass.
Yep.
You know, these are, I find it to be a really, really efficient way to manage your passwords, but also makes it a little easier on that time when you change the password. At least, some of these utilities will kind of let it update whenever, provided, like you said before, you're using, say, the same computer or the same browser via plugin. They'll let you manage your passwords, change your passwords across the board when the time comes. What's your opinion on some of those utilities?
Well, there's a whole family of them, Rich, and they are excellent solutions for people who manage a whole digital life, a whole digital and social life, business and personal affairs and social media. They're indispensable, and I think they're terrific with one caveat, and that's just always keep your app up to date.
Right.
Keep your browsers up to date. And that's an easy way to make sure you've got the latest encryption, which these apps do, deployed very aggressively to keep all your data secure. And of course, if you have that on your phone, you got to lock your phone.
Yep.
And if you go into most smartphones, you see a time limit. You could set a timer, so lock after 1 minute, lock after 5 or 10 or 15. Pick whatever works for you. If you're at a desk most of the time, maybe you want it to stay on for a while because you're looking at your phone or using it when you're using a computer. Both frequently use 2 screens, 3 screens at the same time at a desk. But if you're on the go, driving, or your work requires you to move around a lot, you might want to set your timer for lock screen for a couple minutes, because there's a possibility that you could set your phone down and lose it someplace and you could have access to that app. So I think those solutions to aggregate, to pull all those passwords into one place are a great solution. There's who has time for this.
The best deals on furniture and mattresses are at ashleyhomestore.com. Click the link to shop them now and use the code YouTube10 for an additional 10% off. Shop and save today. Ashley Home Store. This is home. Offer valid for online purchases only.
That's really the big concern. You've got this whole digital and social life, and you got to think about everything else that you have to do on a daily basis. Think about this. And so, like they say with the smoke detectors in your house, every daylight savings time, you go around and just change the 9-volt battery in them, whether it needs changing or not, whether it's charging that battery or not. It's a mental reminder to always stay alert and stay safe. And really the same is true for your personal information and data. AT&T has a whole suite of resources. It's called Digital U. You can search for it on your computer and device, AT&T Digital U, YOU. You'll find plenty of resources for learning how to exist safely in this digital social age, and to help young people get acquainted with social media and the internet, and help seniors plug in and communicate with their grandchildren or their family using devices they may already have in their home. So, really proud to celebrate National Data Privacy Day with these important tips for folks.
Neil, want to definitely thank you for joining us. I am enjoying the Later Haters, or should I say hashtag Later Haters, on Digital U at eat.att.com. Neil, best ways to find out about this initiative or National Privacy Day, and best ways to get in contact with you.
Sure. Yeah, that's really terrific. If you want to find me, if you're on LinkedIn, you can search for me and find me. I'll spell my name for your listeners. It's GIACOBBI. That's the easiest way to get in touch. Parents, educators, folks who are working with young people, in particular, like you mentioned, Later Haters. That's a campaign that we run to help spread positivity online. Through social media, through Instagram and Twitter, interacting with tens of thousands of adolescents and preteens who all they've known is digital and social media, unlike us who remember having a TV with a 20-foot cord and a little plastic box. That was pretty
And no remote control either.
I remember my mom with the phone receiver and the big thing on their shoulder and like this big tangled up cord in the kitchen in the dining room.
Yes.
I think a huge portion of the population knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But for a 12-year-old, pretty much the iPhone is it. And to make a similar comparison to back in the Stone Age, when we had those wall phones, the software and computer power it took to launch Space Shuttle, pretty much the equivalent that's on your 12-year-old's iPhone today.
Yep.
And so you guys know that you're in the business. So it's a huge responsibility for parents when they give their phones to kids the first time. So we have later haters. We've got digital you, parenting in the digital age. That's something we all got to think about. As if we didn't need more responsibility in our homes and in our lives. But the door to the world right there in your hand. And so take it very seriously.
And I was going to say, Neil, did you say 12 years old on purpose? Because you remember I had the 12-year-old twins.
I have a 12-year-old too. I'm thinking about her and her phone. Do your twins share a phone? Do they have their own phone?
No, they each have their own phone for the past, I think, about 2-3 years now.
So that outside the home, a phone that they could take
Yes.
outside. Yeah, a lot of responsibility. And so you're learning firsthand. Let me ask you, what are some of your approaches to staying involved in social?
Well, I check the phone on a daily basis just to see where he's been surfing and texting and calling and the incoming calls. Because sometimes he's also, I guess, whoever had the phone number before they had their numbers, occasionally that people don't realize that the number no longer belongs to that person. So, and, blocking numbers that they shouldn't be receiving phone calls from, things like that.
Yeah, that's a very active approach. And it really, I think that every parent can decide for themselves how they're going to approach social media and smartphones with their children. But I do favor one hand on
Yes.
We like to look at my daughters on Instagram, so we go through and look at her followers. I scroll the list of followers with her. We look at her phone together, ask her to identify some of the folks who are following her on Instagram. And she uses it as a way to just go through and refresh her list with no sort of oversight by me, but she's making decisions to unfriend folks and people who she hasn't seen in a very long time. But I think with your children, when it comes to privacy, the other thing, of course, is to always have passwords.
Yes.
Your children's phone, the passcode. That's part of the deal. I mean, you're paying the freight.
That's true.
Yep.
Well, the phone is my phone and my husband's phone.
Yep.
Huh? And so you have to have the keys. You're not going to give them a house and say, okay, see you later. If I come over, I'll knock on the door.
Oh, my goodness. Neil, it was a pleasure having you on, and definitely want to have you back. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight, and good wishes tonight.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you,
on.
Neil. Thanks for
Thanks so
joining us.
much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.